Okay guys, so today I'm going to be tying the gotcha. This is a bonefish fly and works great for all over in the Bahamas, Mexico, Belize, anywhere like that. So to start, I'm just getting a little bit of a thread base on here. I'm staying about an eyelet length back off of the eye of my fly. I want to keep a little bit of space for the nose, and I'm going to tie in bead chain eyes. You could do a variety of different size eyes on this. I've seen people do dumbbell eyes, if you want a little bit more weight, but stay about like that and eyelets length off of it. Start securing this down. Get a couple good wraps on there before I really mess with it. So first thing here you can see, just trying to keep it nice and flat to the actual nose of my fly. You can see it's a little bit askew right now, and so if I do my wraps, just this way, only that way, a couple hard turns, it's going to fix that right away. So you can see I did a couple hard turns, actually pulled it back the other way, so I can do them the opposite way, even it back out, and just make sure, it stays nice and perpendicular to your hook there. Do a few that direction. I can turn it upside down. Do this way. You don't want to do all one way or another. You want some on both sides. Keep some decent pressure on here. Just make sure these eyes are nice and locked in. Okay, so our eyes are on there. They are nice and secure. Now I'm going to start creating a thread base just towards the back. And I want to keep this nice and even. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but if you can keep the body from having, high spots and low spots, it's just going to look a lot better, because really the base of this is going to be flash wrapped over this. And so if there's not high and low spots with your thread, there won't be high and low spots with the flash when you tie that in. So the first thing I'm going to tie in is crystal flash here, and I'm doing this fly orange, so I have some nice orange crystal flash that I will tie in. And for this, go ahead, just hold it in place. Get that caught in the fly. It's okay if this is a little bit long here. All right, so I've got that coming just straight off the back. Looks good. And that's probably a little bit long. I actually like to keep these, fairly short here, so cut that so it's just nice and neat. It's probably, half the length of the fly. So now I can wrap forward a little bit. You can see that the rest of my material here is a little forward of where that is tied in. So what I'll do is just fold it backwards. This is actually going to be my body. And I know some people use some different materials for these for the body, but I just like to use the same crystal flash fibers. I think it makes, a very nice body. So looks just the same as if you use some sort of other flash in it. Can start working my thread forwards here and just trying to create kind of a nice thread base. This doesn't have to be too crazy thick. I'm not really trying to create any sort of taper, but just create a nice thread base there. So looks pretty good. Now I can take my my flash material, my crystal flash, and I'm just going to start wrapping it forward. And so try to make sure that this material completely covers up all that orange thread. See, I got a little space there. Happened from hitting the point of my hook, so I'll just come back. All right. Take your time, work this forward. All right. Tie off right here. I can maybe sneak in one more wrap. I'm kind of running out of crystal flash here to tie in, so let's see if I can sneak in like one more wrap, but yeah, didn't work too well. That's all right. Okay, so now I will cut off any excess of this flash, and I like to cut it off on this side of the fly, try to trap it and cut it off on this side of the fly because that's going to be hidden by my wing. Throw that away. So we've got our body on here. Now come as close as you can to these eyes. Just want to work my thread. Oh, you can see I got a little nick in it there. So what I'm going to do is I think I am going to actually come back off of this a little bit and whip finish and then restart my thread past where that nick is, because I don't want all those frayed fibers on my fly. Yeah, I'm even having trouble doing that. Okay. You can see it's just creating a ball there. Option 2. Cut it off. Come back in here and restart it over the top of it. Okay, trap those fibers. All right, and now I am right here by the nose again. Try to clean up a few of these fibers in there. All right, so I'm as close to these eyes as I can possibly be. And now I'm going to add my wing in here, and I'm going to use bucktail for the wing. I already cut a clump out and stacked it. And the key to this, use a chunk of bucktail that's close to the tip rather than by the base. The material by the base is going to have a lot more flare to it. These fibers are going to have less flare to them, so they are not going to, they're going to sit a little flatter. There'll be a nicer wing for this. Go ahead, get my materials in my hand there. I like a pretty nice thick wing for these, so I'm just picking out, there were a few kind of short fibers. I had already picked it out some, but see, pretty nice thick wing for it. When I started, the clump I grabbed was probably the size of a marker, and now I'm down to almost a pencil once you kind of clean out and really just tie in the tips of it. So the length that I want this is going to be just about past that flash there, just a little bit past it. You really don't want to go a whole lot beyond that. Measure that out. It's looking pretty good. Now transfer hands, and I'm holding it, making sure it's right on top of my thread. I'm going to spin my thread here so that it is, let's see, I'll spin it just so I get a really nice kind of tight loop in it so it's not flattening out, because this is GSP, so it can flatten. So I'm doing one loose wrap over, second loose wrap, and then just gonna put a little bit of tension on it and pull down. Alright, and so I'm not pulling super hard there. You really don't need a ton of tension on it. That looks like a good length. And then the key to getting this cut off so that you don't trap these fibers in the eyelet of your hook here is that you want to use a razor blade, a double-sided razor blade, and just take it, go right in front of where that thread is. Be very careful not to cut your thread. I come in here really close so I can see it. And I'm just kind of sawing back and forth on it. And mine is pretty dull, which is unfortunate. You want it to be still nice and sharp. It makes this a lot easier. These go dull pretty quick. Problem is, this hair is it really dulls a blade. Okay, so just take your time, cut it bit by bit, And the issue to this is if you use scissors, it's just really hard to get a cut that actually is short enough here. It oftentimes, the material just ends up getting cut still too long. You get it trapped in that eyelet, which is then it just does not look right, and it's, you know, in your way as you're trying to tie off. So use the razor blade. Get a lot cleaner nose on these things. Might be a little more tedious just to, you know, try to get some of these fibers in here, these last couple of ones, but just take your time. All right. Okay. Now I've got those all cut off, and you can see they're all cut short of where that eyelet is, so none of them are going to be trapped in my eyelet there when I actually go to whip finish. Now I'm still going to hold my wing a little bit because you know, it's not 100% tied in, so don't want it to fly away on me. Get all that covered up. So you've got a pretty nice little nose. You can still see, you know, a little ridge in it that we'd like to even out. But the key to this is don't get too far ahead of yourself with this thread and creating a huge nose on here. You don't want a massive nose. So now that I'm at this point, you know, where I would say it's pretty well covered. You can see it's a little maybe underneath, went a little bit far forward. So I'm gonna whip finish, and I can, while I'm whip finishing, try to even out this ridge. I'd rather do it that way, and you can always add some more wraps if need be. I'd rather do it that way and know my fly is done secure and I don't have too bulky of a nose on it. Okay. Now you can see pretty nice even little bullet nose on it. Cut my thread off. See our wings a nice little length right there. It's all still on one side. I'll pull it out. You can see it's, you know, wants to be even through it. We'll get it nice and just swept to either side of the hook here so it looks right. But it'll even itself out. Okay. Barely longer than that flash. We got that flash body underneath. And now the very final step here is we will just take some head cement and just create a nice little nose on top of here. So I'm using UV covering epoxy. And this is the thick. You could use the thin if you want. You know, might level out a little better. You use the thin, but I like the thick. And I am going to coat on the underside here. I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to get a pretty decent amount of it on there. I'm even going to come, you know, a little bit on top of this flash. Just coat a tiny bit. I don't want to get on any of those hairs, but just want to have it, you know, give it a little bit of protection on that flash. Okay, so now I've got it pretty well covered there. Pretty nice little bead. And try to even it out onto the threads. All right, that is looking good. Let it just kind of sit for a second so it distributes itself. And now you can see on the underside how it kind of coats up onto those eyes there as well. And so that just makes those super secure. But I can go ahead and hit this with the light. And that's it, guys. So tie these up. These, like I mentioned, work great anywhere in the Bahamas, Mexico, Belize, anywhere like that. So if you got a trip coming up, Andros, Abaco, this is just a great fly to have in your pattern. I found orange is a great color. Pink is another really good color. You know, tan wings are always good. White wings, probably pink and tan or pink and orange are, you know, the highest producing colors that I've ever seen. And that is it, guys. Go ahead, tie some of those up. Let me know how they fish for you. Drop a comment below and let me know what you catch on this. As always, also leave a comment and let me know what fly I should tie next. Would love to hear from you guys on what you would like to see tied on here or see me, fail at trying to tie on here. And just thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.